Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I'm glad to take your calls. We'll get to those in just a moment. I want to talk first to Dale Wilcox, who's Executive Director and General Counsel. That means he's a lawyer for the Immigration Reform Law Institute. Dale, welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me, Lars.
Now, my audience knows that I've been a critic of illegal aliens, and I do call them illegal aliens for a good long time. And long before Donald Trump came down that escalator and announced his run for president and said that there's a disproportionate number of illegal aliens who are involved in crime, I've been pointing this out to people and using real numbers to suggest it's a law enforcement problem for the rest of us when you allow people that are less than law abiding to come in who are going to commit a disproportionate number of very serious crimes. But now the IRLI, your organization, has pointed out that this has reached kind of a fever pitch in some of the biggest cities in America. Would you mind describing for my audience what's going on?
Sure. Yeah, we put together here recently a list of shame, the top 10, or I should say the bottom 10 sanctuary cities in the United States. And a sanctuary city basically is a city that refuses to cooperate with federal immigration authorities. Normally what happens, a criminal alien will get caught up in the system. They'll get arrested for local crime. That information goes to DHS, and DHS will issue what's called a detainer request. Hold that alien for us so we can come and get them and send them out of the country. Well, there are a slew of jurisdictions now in the United States, and we've produced a list of the top worst offenders who will not cooperate with immigration authorities. And we're talking about criminals here. We're talking about they will not hand over criminals to federal immigration authorities so they can remove them from the country and they won't reoffend. And as you noted, the numbers prove that this is not just theoretical. This is a real danger. Statistics show that 50% of criminal aliens reoffend within the first year, and 75% reoffend within 5 years. So, people have literally lost their lives as a result of these jurisdictions not doing their job, working with the feds, and getting these criminals out of our local communities.
And especially for the illegals who can run back across the border to Mexico or Central or South America, the saving grace for people who are in that position is if they commit the crime here, they can always just scoot back across the border and then come back, when they feel like it, and maybe not return to the community that they committed one crime in. So they may go to a different community just to keep themselves away from the law. Most Americans can't or don't behave that way. You don't commit a crime and then say, well, I'll just flee from the country and go somewhere else. That's not what American criminals do, but criminals from Mexico and Central and South America do that.
Yes, and that's exactly what happens. And in fact, last year, we apprehended at the border 10,000 criminal aliens who had been convicted of some crime coming across again. And as of July 14 of this year, we're on par. We've apprehended about 8,000 convicted criminals coming back across the border. So that's what happens many times. They'll commit a crime. In fact, in your neck of the woods up there in the Northwest, we had an individual who killed somebody with a car and went back to his homeland in Mexico, and as far as I know, remains at large. So it happens all the time.
Well, and in fact, there are some particularly ugly crimes like that. One illegal alien I know of, again, in my neck of the woods, was driving a car, was apparently intoxicated, hit a young lady who was out for a morning jog, knocked her into the ditch, injured her so badly. She lived for a time in that ditch for about 24 hours. Somebody finally spotted her because he never bothered to tell anybody. They took her off to the hospital, and she died a while later. And she died a horrible, lonely, ugly death because she'd been knocked into the ditch by the force of his car and then given no care for about 24 hours till she was finally found. And you can imagine yourself dying. He just fled back to Mexico and then stayed there for a good long time. And the statistics are just stunning. Again, in my neck of the woods, illegals are about 4 or 5% of the population. They are 14% of convicted murders, and they are 18% of convicted rapists. So if anybody thinks, oh, they're just breaking the law by lying about who they are, not filing their taxes, or doing other minor things because they just want a better life, No, in many cases, they are committing the most serious crimes in this country. And all of these cities, I mean, you've got the three biggest cities in America, New York, L.A., and Chicago. No surprise, they're 1, 2, and 3. Then you've got Philly, San Francisco is number 5, Minneapolis is number 6, Seattle's number 7, Wake County, North Carolina is number 8, Middlesex County, New Jersey, I guess that's near New York City, is 9, and then Portland, Oregon is number 10. And are any of these cities showing any sign that they're willing to get with the program and say, this is a clear and present danger to our citizens, and we have to do something about it and change our policies?
Well, I wish I could report they were. The only bright spot maybe that we see is what happened here recently in San Francisco, where the radical DA there was removed from office, and his replacement has vowed to crack down, but we've yet to see any movement there. So we're hoping one of the things that these sanctuary jurisdictions are doing. It's not just not holding criminals for federal immigration authorities, but they are creating special prosecution units within their DA's offices that will give illegal aliens special treatment. They are downgrading charges or dropping charges on illegal aliens so that they won't be deported, because under our immigration law, it states that certain crimes will get you removed from the country. So We've got jurisdictions now actively helping these illegal alien criminals stay in the country and avoid federal immigration consequences.
Even to the point where in some cities and some states, they've set up major funds of millions of dollars to provide legal representation to people who are illegally in the country. And I keep waiting for taxpayers to say, you're spending my money to defend somebody's presence in America who has no legal right to be here, and you're going to take my tax dollars, and instead of spending them on, on legitimate services to people who are legitimately here, citizens, green card holders, visitors, and that sort of thing, you're going to spend the money to help illegals stay in the country? It's an outrageous idea, but for some reason, the big blue cities are willing to do it.
It is an outrageous idea, and think about this. So taxpayers are funding the ICE attorneys, DHS attorneys, to prosecute these illegal aliens, and then these local jurisdictions are shelling out more taxpayer dollars on the other side to defend criminals who should rightfully be removed from the country. Taxpayers should be incensed at this waste of resources and their hard-earned tax-paying money.
Let me ask you this. You said one bright spot. Is Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, possibly another bright spot? Because they've now been dumped. Texas has been sending busloads of illegals up. And Adams has been screaming like a stuck pig about the fact that, you can't send all these people here. Well, I don't know where he expected them to end up. They were all going to stay in McAllen, Texas or something. But he's screaming about this, saying, we can't handle this. Well, I think it serves you right. Is there any chance that maybe that is going to bring about some change in policy from the mayor of New York or the city council of New York?
You certainly would think that Adams, being a former New York City Police Department official, would be pro-law and order and would want to enforce the law. But that's not what we've seen so far. And in fact, the New York City Council passed legislation that he supported that gave aliens the right to vote in New York City municipal elections. Now, thankfully, we challenged that, and we got that struck down.
And that's exactly what you need to do. That's Dale Wilcox, the executive director and the lawyer, the general counsel for the Immigration Reform Law Institute. Dale, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.